Welcome to Modern Homestead, Alaska. I'm Jessica, and today we are at the Matsu Food Bank, and we are going to be teaching foundational pantries. We are going to walk through 6 simple steps and areas that we do it. I'm going to show you how to prepare everything, how to package and seal it, and what you should be shopping for, and the best way to build an at-home pantry from scratch with very little money. Won't you join us today? Let's get into it.
Before we even recorded this video, we popped off to Costco and Walmart and we filled our local pantry. And the items that we got in the previous video is what we're going to be showing in today's video. I do want to apologize ahead of time for some of the audio issues. We are re-filming all of this as a classroom setting. However, this is what we have for right now. I hope you enjoy it, learn a little bit from it, and join us in the upcoming class series. As well as there will be an entire set of documents as well as videos and so on. That is coming later on the channel, and I'm so excited to share those things with you guys. But for now, let's jump in exactly where we were at when we are unloading all of the groceries and stuff from our grocery haul, and I'll leave a link to that video if you're interested. Well, friends, everything that comes into the food bank has to be weighed. So food in, food out, and so that's what we're doing right now, is unloading everything before we even start the class onto a scale, and I will let you know exactly how much weight and food we brought this time. So the first pallet was 899 pounds, and now we're gonna grab another pallet and start on the inside of the truck. Introduce ourselves. We'll start with me, but I won't share everyone that is here for privacy reasons, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Jessica, and I started my food pantry journey after our family had hit some hard times. As a mom with 4 kids under the age of 5, my husband and I knew what it was like to eat at the food bank in order to have enough food to survive. So that began my pantry journey of how do I stock things. Well, I began that pantry journey like many others with extreme couponing. I quickly learned that sugared cereal was not going to carry my family through for very far. And then I swung to the extreme opposite of just rice and beans. I quickly learned that gets old really, really quickly. So a true pantry is balanced, it is rounded out, and it has several sections to it, and it's somewhere in between the extreme couponing and just living off of rice and beans, and that is what we are sharing and learning today. All right, let's talk about pantry state of mind. We do not prepare our pantries out of fear, but we do live in a life that is full of the what-ifs. So we look for, what if we do lose that job? What if someone gets sick? What if we had another COVID shutdown? It doesn't matter what your what if is. We are preparing for the what ifs of life, not fear-based pantries. Fear-based pantries don't feel good. You aren't going to stick to it for very long, and it is a mindset that just can drive people crazy. But the reality is, we have faced layoffs at our house, we have faced illnesses at our house, and we all went through 2020 together. And so we know firsthand that the what-ifs of life actually happen more than we would like to admit or that we would like to walk through. So when you are preparing your pantry, that is the first thing I want you to do is, hey, what if something happens? This is a good way to be prepared. And if I could take this off my plate, that is one of my biggest lessons I like to teach, is when you face a layoff, if you aren't worried about where your food is going to come from, you aren't struggling so hard,
with the mental state, you're able to go out there, look for another job, hit the ground running, so to speak, those sort of things. But if you are crippled with a panic of where is my family going to get their food, you are not preparing for the what ifs, and you are crippled in those situations. So get your mindset right first before you start this pantry. All right, so I have a document here that I have built. If you're interested, I will leave a link so that you at home can also get a hold of this document. And what I have done is the 6 foundations of the pantry. So I will open one of these booklets and start out with those levels. We're going to talk through each one of them, and I'm going to show you how to stock and store each level. Foundation number 1 is the core grains. Foundation number 2 is proteins. Number 3, fruits and vegetables. Number 4, fats and oils. Number 5 is pantry staples. And number 6 is additional items plus comfort and convenience foods. That is how we're going to build this pantry that isn't just sugary cereals or just rice and beans. We're going to hit all the layers and levels of food. All right, we're going to start with foundation 1. These are core grains, and when we build our kits together, everyone's going to be taking home, I think it's 3 or 4. So my recommendation when you're shopping this area of the pantry is just choose a couple of them so you're getting variety. So we're going to talk about grains are the backbone of the pantry. They provide affordable calories. Grains, I've kept it simple. I haven't added potatoes or anything into this section. For me, that's going to be things like rice, oats, pasta, flour, cornmeal, quinoa, barley, wheat berries, even ramen noodles are included in that area of the pantry. We do have some recommendations with these items. You need to know how to store them properly, because something like flour can go rancid after about a year, and I'm going to show you exactly how to store those different things. Another area is focus on the balance across the sections so that your pantry can create complete meals, not just store ingredients. So we want to make sure that when we're looking through all of this, that we can complete a whole meal and not just, okay, I only have rice. All right, foundation number 2 is proteins. We're going to walk through those. Protein foods help meals feel complete and nourishing. Beans, lentils, peas, canned meats, nut butters, and other shelf-stable proteins provide long-lasting nutrition, help maintain energy, and make the pantry meals more satisfying and balanced. So these would be things like dry beans, lentils, split peas, canned chicken, canned tuna, Spam, beef stew, shelf-stable milk, powdered milk, jerkies, protein powders, anything along those lines. Foundation number 3, fruits and vegetables. The pantry should support health as well as fullness. So storing fruits and vegetables adds vitamins, minerals, fiber, color, and variety to the meals. And this can be a section that is dehydrated, freeze-dried, canned. You can get your fruits and vegetables in any number of ways, and this would be all of the potatoes, the canned green beans, corn, peas, carrots, tomatoes, tomato sauce, pineapple, you name it, the list is endless there. Foundation number 4 that we're going to shop from today, fats and oils. This is where fats are essential in both cooking and nutrition, believe it or not. You have got to have some of these in your pantry. I'm going to give you a couple of warnings at the end on those and a couple of tips. But this will be anything from your olive oil, your vegetable oil, coconut, shortening, butter, ghee, mayonnaise is included in that. Peanut butter, for me, goes in the fats and oils, but it can be considered a protein for your family. You just put it in whatever section you want it to go in. Nuts and seeds, salad dressings, anything like that. This is my cautionary area because when we're talking fats and oils, they expire the fastest out of all of these sections. There aren't a whole lot of really good preservation methods that prevent fats and oils from going rancid. You can freeze nuts, you can do some sort of things. However, when we're talking fats and oils, my highest recommendation is make sure that you're rotating through your pantry, buy what you need, store what you are actually going to eat, and then rotate through the fats and oils.
What about beef tallow?
Beef tallow, absolutely. Beef tallow is one of my favorites. We have a whole bunch of it at our house. So these are not all inclusive.
Okay.
List. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Also, we have beef tallow. We have a lard. We got huge boxes of leaf lard from a butcher and turned all of that in. All of that would be included in the fats and oils, and those are good fats and oils. Okay, pantry foundation number 5 are the staples. So this is where you're going to have your sugars, your honey, your brown sugar, salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, taco seasoning, baking powders, baking sodas, yeast, vinegars, cornstarches, cocoa powders. I say all of those for us to say these are the ingredients that make the pantry work. Salt, sugar, baking supplies, yeast, and seasonings transform basic ingredients into real meals. Without some of these things, you cannot turn flour into biscuits or bread or any of those things without these additional ingredients. So if you're only stocking flour and you're skipping this section, what are you actually going to be able to turn that flour into? And number 6 is additional comfort and convenience things. This is the area where I like to add into the pantry things like coffee and tea and drink mixes, because if you're in a situation where you have stale water, you can stay hydrated. If you're in situations where you're eating from that pantry, this is where powdered milk, broth, bouillon, soup mixes, creamy soups, gravy packets, coffee, tea, Kool-Aid, drink mixes, all of that, they fall into this additional category. I do think it's just as important as the rest of them, because something like bone broth or a broth of some sort or bouillon with some canned chicken, with some canned vegetables, you can quickly make a soup for your family that is hearty and filling. But if you don't have any of that in there, what are you going to do? So those are our basics. And then in the end, we'll run through with the recommended poundage per person per year. And I'll share with you how we're going to store these things. But first, we're going to shop each section. All right, when you're at the store, you are going to be shopping from each of the sections. And I have taken the time to just grab a few items from each section. And this is what everyone's going to be taking home today. So from section 1, which is the foundation, the core grains, I have chosen rice. Everyone's getting a pound of rice. Everyone's getting are those 10-pound bags? Everyone's getting 10 pounds of flour, 1 pound of oats, and 1 pound, back here we have some pasta, we have some spaghetti. From section 2, so everyone's going to come up in just a second and they're going to grab their items and we're going to package them up together. Okay, foundation number 2, the proteins. What I got for everyone is I chose 3 from this section. We have the beans, so everyone gets 1 pound of beans, 2 cans of canned chicken, and 2 cans of tuna. And something I want you to remember is if you do all beans, your meals get boring very, very quickly. But if you diversify, and that is one of my biggest notes, is when it comes to the beans, make sure if you're buying little 1 pound bags at Walmart or someplace like that at a time, make sure you buy lots of colors, because every bean has a different nutritional and protein, vitamins, nutrients, all of the things that are in those beans. So shop the colors of the rainbow. They're there for a reason. It stops meal fatigue, but it also, when you're eating off of that pantry for long periods of time, you are making sure that your family is getting all of the vitamins and nutrients they need from their food without having to be
deficient in one area or another. So make sure you do that with your proteins. The next thing everyone's gonna get from the fruit and vegetables section is they're gonna get 1 applesauce, 2 cans of fruit, as well as 2 cans of vegetables. I also I consider my freezers to be part of the pantry, so this might be something when you're shopping that you're throwing a couple of frozen bags of fruit or vegetables in your freezer. Everything doesn't have to be canned, but here at the food pantry, it's a lot simpler if I did cans instead of frozen or fresh things. All right, moving on to the fats and oils. What I chose here was I've given everyone a variety. So everything from canola, vegetable oil, we have grapeseed, we have olive oil, we have coconut oil. They're gonna choose a fat of choice, and they're going to get a peanut butter. Again, I said this is one of those most expensive sections, but it is absolutely vital. And make sure in this that you choose something for your family that you're actually gonna eat. If your family does not eat olive oil, don't just go buy olive oil because it's what is popular or everyone's telling you stay away from these things. You need to stock what your family's going to eat, because imagine when that what if hits and now all of a sudden you have to eat a bunch of food that no one likes. That doesn't build morale at all. The thing that builds morale is some of those comfort items. So choose the fats, choose the peanut butters, choose those things that your family actually enjoys. And then next, they're gonna do pantry staples. I have chosen several. So they're going to do 2 leavening agents. So they're gonna choose either an instant or a fast rising dry yeast, baking soda, or baking powder. So they're gonna get 2 selected from there. They're gonna get a pound of salt. I'm gonna show you how to store this. And then they're going to choose a seasoning or spice of choice. Honorable mentions that I didn't get. I do like vinegar in this section because not only does vinegar go really far, vinegar and oil, but if you're choosing white vinegar, it's very cheap and it can be used for sanitation, cooking, cleaning, canning, a multitude of things. It just didn't fit in the budget for this one, but that is something that I would definitely consider right here. All right, and then the additional items, we're going to choose one of the bouillons, whether that's beef or chicken. They're gonna choose a soup mix. We have onion and we have beefy onion. These, with all of this, add flavor and turn it into a meal. And then they're gonna take 2 cans of evaporated milk, because you cannot make macaroni and cheese without milk. If you're in a situation you don't have any macaroni, you got a bunch of little ones running around, you can open that canned milk. You can make pies, you can do all sorts of things. My mashed potatoes I make with canned milk. So this can go really far in that emergency pantry, but also not necessarily an emergency, just a Friday night when you don't feel like running to the store and you miss that your kid finished off the gallon of milk and now you need milk. So keep some of this stocked up in your pantry. We're gonna do our shopping and then I'll show you how to store it. Okay, so jumped in a question real quick. Asked if I use the evaporated milk exactly like I do regular milk. No, evaporated milk is about 50% milk, 50% water. However, if you're throwing it into like potatoes or you're making a pie or something like that, you can use it straight. But if you are going to do it like in macaroni and cheese or something like that, do a 50-50. Half this evaporated milk, half water. All right, now we're going to work through how to properly store these items. Not everything needs proper storage. Your canned goods are just gonna go on your pantry shelf exactly like that. You're gonna pay attention to expiration dates and all that fun stuff. And you're gonna be rotating through that portion of your pantry because, like we already said, we're storing the things that our family already eats. We're not just going way off into left field. So the first thing I wanna store is how would I store the flour, and this is the preservation method you most often see on my channel. So if you haven't checked out the channel yet, it's Modern Homestead Alaska on YouTube. Go ahead and head there. I do mostly 5-gallon buckets and Mylar bags, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. Now, on Amazon, I get these 5-gallon bucket liners. They don't have them. They don't have them for 2-gallon buckets, but I don't worry too much about it. Is this necessary? No. The reason that I do it is because it's easy to kind of throw away this bag, especially things like sugar, powdered sugar, some of the different things. So I do line my buckets, and then when I can push down on top of it, it does keep everything a little bit cleaner. So we're going to take a food grade 2-gallon bucket here. I'm going to put the bucket liner in it, and how I'm going to store the flour is in this bucket. Flour has a shorter expiration life than, say, rice that's stored properly in Mylar has a 30-year shelf life. That doesn't mean we store 30 years worth of food or our food for 30 years. It means this could just last for a very long time. Whereas flour, they say, we'll just go with what they say, about a year. I use flour well beyond that, and this is exactly how I store it. If you live in a southern climate, make sure you freeze all of your grains and your beans before you put them in this storage method, because I would hate for you to open your bucket of flour and it's full of weevils or something like that. And up here, we don't really deal a whole lot with that in Alaska, so we didn't have to freeze these things. The way that I do freeze them, however, is I often order my grains in the middle of winter. I leave them in the truck over the next week, and Alaska does what Alaska does for me. So all I'm going to do is just move this 10-pound bag into the 2-gallon bucket, and the whole thing fits. Ask me how I know, because this is my favorite flour, and I use 2-gallon buckets in my pantry. So then I'm just going to take the plastic. So food grade, food grade, food grade everywhere. And then these come with a sealed lid. And then next, most important step, I brought labels that I use. Use anything. I've used duct tape, I've used painter's tape, I have used labels, but I do have labels. And then we are going to use a permanent marker, and we're going to write it out here. I have a volunteer, and there we have it. So that is how we're just going to store our flour, like that cool, dry place in the dark if possible. Move on to Mylar bags and storage quantities. So storing 10 pounds of flour, no big deal, because you are very likely to go through that whole bag of flour when you need. However, this is 50 pounds of rice. Well, your family is probably not going to quickly eat through 50 pounds of rice. Plus, depending on your storage goals, you may want a year's worth of rice for your entire family. And if you have a very large family, that can be a very large amount of rice that you're rotating through. And so how are you going to store that long term? The best preservation method is Mylar, and I'm going to show you there's actually more than one way of sealing. So I have gallon Mylar bags, and I have quart size. We're going to get those out and ready. And depending on the size of your Mylar bag will depend on the size of oxygen absorber that you need. So for a gallon Mylar bag, you need one 300 cc oxygen absorber. And for a quart size bag, you need one 100 cc oxygen absorber. We will not open these until we have to. I have a chamber back here. They're a little bit expensive. If you can't invest in something like that, The other way that you seal this is with a hair blanket flat iron. There we go. We're going to use a flat iron to seal them with the oxygen absorbers. You don't need an oxygen absorber if you have a chamber bag. I think I already said that. But when you are starting out, which is how I started out with the flat iron and just filled each one up. So let me grab the scale. We are going to be packaging up 1 pound per person of rice. Now, normally I wouldn't just package up 1 pound, but for the sake of showing everyone how to do this, what I would do is whatever size matches best for my family, that I'm going to open it and be able to work all the way through it. The number one way I do not store in Mylar anymore, but I have done, is 5-gallon Mylar bags, because when I opened 5 gallons worth of pinto beans, I had no idea why I had that many pinto beans or what I was supposed to do with them before they started losing flavor. So let me grab the scale and we'll get to work. All right, at my house, my pantry is 1/2-gallon jars. So I do a 1/2 gallon plus 2 cups of things like rice and beans, peas, lentils, any of that, colors of the rainbow, you name it. And then that gives me the meal. So when I have to open a new bag, it gives me the 1 meal and it gives me a full storage container. So I have a quart size jar, right? Quart, big, 4 quarts a gallon. Okay, quart size jar is about 1.5 pounds. So we decided we're gonna do 1.5 pounds for everyone. And that is what is going to fit in this Mylar bag. And then this Mylar bag goes into the chamber bag. All right, we have our chamber bag set to 35 seconds. We want to up that. And we want it for as long as possible, and a 9 is it. It is gonna go in.
Like this amazing food saver for explorer camping. It's got like car plug-ins.
So there we have it. It is totally sealed it all up. This has a 30-year shelf life. We are going to label the rice as well. We're going to also put the date, rice, and how much weight is in there so that we know. One of the other reasons I like to break up my food storage into smaller quantities, such as the gallon size or the quart size, is it is share size. If someone you know is down on their luck, having a hard time, a family member, whatever it is, and you feel like sharing with them, it's easier to give them this than it is to give them all of your jars. And if everything is labeled, they're able to open up whatever they need when they need it, and it's also stored in a way that they can store it for a long time as well. The other thing I wanted to touch on with Mylar is, say you only got the gallon size bags, and so you filled this gallon size bag, you put your oxygen absorber and you've sealed it, and you've opened it, and you're not like, I'm not going to go through that amount of beans, lentils, something like that. Mylar is resealable. It isn't as good the second time, but it is something that you can reseal. So say you poured out half of the bag, you can cut that bag off, put a new oxygen absorber in it. You cannot reuse the original oxygen absorber. Put a new one in it, and you just run it through either your chamber bag or with that, that flat iron, the same way, a regular iron, whatever it is that you're sealing your Mylar with. So keep in mind, if you only have one size, you can reseal these bags. All right, for our third grain that I'm going to show you how to store up, it is going to be the rolled oats. Oats for a quart are going to come in just under 1 pound, and so each bag is going to get one of these. We're going to store any of our grains like wheat, oats, whole oats, anything like that, cornmeal, all of those different grains this exact same way. The reason I store the flour like that is because I just buy so much bulk or so much big flour. However, you can do Mylar for your flour as well. If you wanted to fill gallon bags all day long, go right on ahead. But the oats are going to be sealed the exact same way as before. All right, and there are the oats. They just squish right on down. Same thing, label, date,
thyme, all of the fun jazz in there. And so far, everyone has gotten 10 pounds of flour in a 2-gallon bucket and 2 Mylar bags, one with oats and one with rice. We walked around and we found I think this is all the pinto beans that they have left from the donation we did about a month ago. And so we're going to do 1 quart of beans, and that comes in, again, like the rice, about 1.5 pounds. So keep in mind, not everything weighs the same. One of our participants said it's the feathers and iron.
Lead.
Feathers and lead.
Pound of lead.
Pound of feathers, pound of lead sort of thing. So you have to kind of gauge it and learn over time how many bags will fill up what. So 50 pounds of oats are going to fill a lot more bags than 50 pounds of beans or rice. So same thing with your beans. The beans are going to go in the Mylar bags and into the chamber bag, all the same as before. Right, so there is our protein. So the rest of the protein is the canned tuna and the canned chicken. Those will just go on your pantry shelf. The beans will get stored like this. Another way you might store beans, let me look around. I'll be right back. All right, really quick, I want to show you, because say you are doing it exactly like I started it out, and you are going to Walmart, you're grabbing 1 pound of pasta, 1 pound of beans. What do we got here? We got some black beans, we have some pintos, we have 1 pound of white rice, and we don't have any Mylar. We are not investing in all of these things. We're struggling, and we are just trying to kind of bulk out and feed our family, fill that pantry. I literally have buckets that look exactly like this at my house, because there are some things that I buy in smaller quantities, and this is exactly how I store them. That's it. I just throw them in. I may use a bucket liner, I may not, but it is no big deal for me. In fact, I'm going to run around really quick and tell you how many pounds of random things that I can get in this 1 2-gallon bucket. So far, we've got 4 pounds in here. Let's fill it up. Show your pantry real quick.
All right.
We're going to see how many pounds we can fit in this bucket. All right, the best part about this pantry is you shop it like a grocery store. And there's no patrons here. And our beautiful staff is restocking everything. So far, what do we say? We have 4 pounds, 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could probably shove 1 more rice in there if I did some maneuvering or took out the pasta, which is taking up space. But I can do between 9 and 10 pounds in a 2-gallon bucket. I'm just gonna pop the lid on it, and I'm gonna write. One of mine at home says random rice, random beans. What it is like black-eyed pea or something like that I don't want large quantities of, but I still wanna have some for here and there. Go ahead and just start your pantry exactly like this. A good storage method, because we do wanna keep the critters out. We want to do our best to keep mice, bugs, spiders, all of that fun stuff out of it. So grab a cheap 2-gallon food grade bucket, even a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket. I don't care where you get them. If you're in the lower 48, Tractor Supply is where I got all of my food grade buckets. So you can fit a whole lot just like this without ever having to invest in the Mylar or all of the special bags. Thanks, guys, for letting me shop your pantry.
Well, thank you for restocking.
I say that at my house all the time. They're like, this is not a set.
It
They're like,
is.
quiet on the set.
There's lights and a camera, and you are on a stage. It is a set.
My kids are like, no.
Yes.
No, this is my kitchen, my bedroom. I will make all the noise that I want. All right, guys, we're going to move on to sugar and salt. You do not want to use oxygen absorbers, and these are not areas that are absolutely necessary that they go into something like Mylar. I don't put my sugar or salt in Mylar ever. It is a waste of the bag, and I have had no issues with the salt or sugar. If you know of another way, go ahead and leave that in the comment section, but this is how I do the sugar. The sugar is the reason that I started using bucket liners in the first place. And quantities wise, we're going to talk about quantities at the end of the video. How many pounds is recommended per person per year that a family is going to eat through. Well, sugar is something that we use a lot of in the United States, but a sugar substitute, this can include your honeys or anything along the lines of sugar. It doesn't have to be white sugar. And I do buy brown sugar. I know that you can make it from white sugar and molasses. There's a lot of different things. But as far as sugars go, we'll go through the pounds, but this is how I store sugar. Again, with the buckets, we have lids. I have lined it, and I'm just going to fill this bucket with the sugar. Okay, this was the first time I found this organic sugar like this at Costco, and I think it's because I went to the business center. And what's amazing about that is this is my favorite sugar, and I generally have to buy it in the 10-pound bags that will fill these buckets. Well, I was able to get it in bulk and save the people who donated to making this video and giving away all of this food and the food buckets and all of those things. We needed to be as financially responsible as we could, and so I found the sugar in big bulk like this. And so we're going to just fill from the 50 pounds our buckets. Now, I bet you're wondering, because I didn't say why. Why would you never use an oxygen absorber? It seems like such a great idea. This would turn into a brick. I learned that from the cannery in Colorado. The ladies there taught us because they were canning sugar and salt with oxygen absorbers, and when they opened the cans, they were completely wasted. I don't know how you're going to get that salt or that sugar apart, and so it just totally ruins it. So all you do is your bucket. I've got a label on this bucket, probably on the back side here, and a lid pops on, and there we have it. That's how we're going to store our sugar. We're going to store salt the same way depending on the quantity, and I do salt in a couple of different ways, and I'm going to show you that now. We'll just jump right over to the salt. So I got everyone some kosher salt for our budget, and we are going to do about 1 pound per family in a Ziploc bag, and then the Ziploc bags would go into the 2-gallon buckets, or however you are storing that salt at home. It could be in jars, it could be in any number of things. Again, the point is you need salt in your diet, so it's super important to have this in your stock. Normally you would buy whatever size this is. I grow lots of these in 5-gallon buckets, so I'll grab several different kinds of salts, whether that's a canning salt, a kosher salt, or a fine sea salt. It doesn't actually matter, and I'll just throw them in, or I'll buy 50-pound bags of salt, which fills 1 5-gallon bucket. But let's just weigh out 1 pound of salt. All right, we're gonna have enough of this for everyone, so just take it apart. And then all the participants are gonna come up. They're going to label their bags, and we're gonna do 1 pound. And there we have it. So that's 1 pound of salt. That's a lot of salt. We're almost finished up here. Do you want to fill the box?
I can fill a box.
You can fill the box, and I'll give it to you. All right, so you're going to get 10 pounds of flour. Where's our oats? There we
Our
go.
oats.
There we go. You're gonna get about a pound of oats,
1.5 pounds of rice.
rice,
Oh, I didn't label this one.
beans. We're
Pinto
gonna label
beans.
the beans. We're gonna
I'm gonna
label
put that
it.
one to the side.
Salt.
1 pound of salt.
You're going to get your sugar in a Ziploc bag, but you're gonna get sugar. You're gonna get 1 pound of
Spaghetti.
2 cans of chicken, 2 cans of fish, 1 40-ounce applesauce. Some are going to have mandarin oranges, and some are going to have pears, but most are going to have pears unless you have an allergy. Let us know, but they'll have pears. An array of canned vegetables. We have corn, we have green beans, we have peas. You're going to get a peanut butter. This is our fats and oils. And then an assortment of oils. So some I'm gonna have are, we'll go extra virgin olive oil in this one. If you don't like that or you want a different oil, just let us know. You are going to get 2 leavening agents. So for this one, we're going to go active dry yeast and baking soda, but it may be yeast and baking powder or something along those lines. We've already popped the salt in. You're going to get a seasoning or spice. So we have the most cinnamon because I think it's my favorite. You're going to get a bouillon. We'll start a beef one in this box. You are going to get a soup box, and then 2 cans of evaporated milk, and you are going to be given 1 of the 2-gallon buckets. I'll pop a label on each one of them so that you can label them when you get home, as well as the lid to seal it. So you have everything here to start your food pantry exactly like I have done. And then you will also get our entire printout that helps you continue shopping this way in, thank you, Vanna. Continue shopping this way in the future. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube and you would like this, I will include in the show notes a way that you can go and get a copy of this yourself. I saved this section for last because the numbers can be quite overwhelming. And again, I want to reiterate before we get into this, we are just stocking slowly and we're doing the very best that we can a little bit at a time. If you want to actually understand how much food is recommended per person per year, if you wanted to just eat off of your pantry, you begin to understand why pantries like mine are the size that they are. And for most people, it's not only not feasible, but the space that is required to have enough food for every person for a whole year. So you break it apart, but it does help you sort of understand, stick with me for a second, it does help you understand how to break apart your pantry by not having all in one section. So what is recommended is between 300 and 400 pounds of grains per person per year, 60 pounds per person per year of proteins, 75 to 100 pounds per person per year of fruits and vegetables, 10 quarts of fats, and about 8 pounds of salt, 60 pounds of sugar or honey per person per year, and additional comfort items such as powdered milk. Powdered milk individually says 16 pounds per person per year. So grand total, that is hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food that a family will eat through. You can give or take a little bit for children and kind of the elderly, those that don't eat as much. But if you have a great big working husband, he may actually eat more than what is on this list. So when you're working through that, keep in mind you're going to front load on those grains. You're going to follow up with the proteins and the fruits and vegetables, but only about 10 quarts is needed on the fats and oils. But do the 8 pounds of salt. That's one of the things, it's a cheaper item. You could quickly get the 8 pounds per person stocked up with that. And as soon as you get that, you can just kind of mark it off your list. And then the powdered milk at 16 pounds. Powdered milk's kind of expensive. That's why we went canned, but you can kind of work around all of those different things. So don't be overwhelmed. Just go as best as you can, one day, one trip, one stock at a time. So with that, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us in our video today, and I would like to thank the food bank and the Matsu food bank. Betty White. Betty White is my neighbor's mother. So the original homesteaders where we live, she is the one that helped found and run and do all of the fun things for this food bank way back when. Her daughter's in her 80s, so that tells you how long this food bank has been in Wasilla and serving its neighboring communities as well. So thank you guys for letting me be part of this. If you're interested in their hand up program, make sure you go to the Facebook page. I'll leave a link for that as well, and follow everything that they're doing, because there's many other people that are going to be coming and teaching classes, from financial to gardening and all sorts of other fun things as part of this hand up program. So it's very important that you follow along. If you would like to keep videos like this going and give to this food bank, I'm also going to give you a link for that as well, and you can support our local food bank as well. So thank you for being part of it. As always, I hope that you are blessed. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead of you, and I hope that you come back to see me in the next video. Bye for now.